All right, guys. So, this story right here about Ilhan Omar and her remarks that she made regarding basically comparing the U.S. and Israel to Hamas and the Taliban, basically comparing democracies to terrorist organizations. She got a lot of trouble for these comments. And what is happening here right now in terms of our politics, the eternal conflict in the House over things that people say, right, is entirely predictable. Because like I try to tell you guys, precedent is so damn important in politics, right? Once one party starts doing something, you open the door for the other party to start to do the same thing back to you. That's what's happening right now. Okay, because the Democrats have opened the door, starting with the Trump impeachment sham. And guys, this goes further back than impeachment, right? This really goes back to the Democrats over the last 4 years, basically trying to punish Trump over things that he has said. Okay, and when the Democrats actually got power, they acted on that, right? They went to try to impeach Trump, right? It didn't work. They removed Marjorie Taylor Greene from her committee assignments. Okay, unilaterally did that. What I said then is what's happening right now, which is that pendulum is going to come back and swing the other way, because the Democrat Party thinks that the Republicans have extremists in their party, but at the same time, the Democrats have extremists in their party too, right? And the extremists in their party are the squad, and the squad is known to say controversial things. And what Ilhan Omar said was controversial, right? Particularly to those that are not on the far left. Let's pull up her tweet. This is what she said. She says, "We must have the same level of accountability and justice for all victims of crimes against humanity. We have seen unthinkable atrocities committed by the U.S., Hamas, Israel, Afghanistan, and the Taliban. I asked Secretary Blinken where people are supposed to go for justice." Okay, so again, like I told you, this was controversial because essentially she's equating the U.S. and Israel, two democracies, to terrorist organizations. Now, House Democrats, particularly Jewish House Democrats, came out against this. They said, no. You can't be saying stuff like this. You can't be putting us on the same level as the Taliban and Hamas, right? And they actually have a good point, because the left, right, particularly the progressives, this talking point is actually used by them a lot, in which they do argue pretty regularly that the U.S. commits war crimes and that we're really no different than a terrorist organization. It's just that we have bigger guns, right? That's what they argue. And one example that happened in the Obama administration is that Obama ordered a drone strike that ended up killing an American citizen in Yemen. And this was a teenager, by the way. A teenager. There was speculation that he might have been a part of Al-Qaeda, or that he was in an area that was occupied by Al-Qaeda. Allegedly, he was eating at a restaurant and Obama issued a drone strike on the restaurant. But he was an American citizen, and typically, if you're an American citizen, you're supposed to get a trial before being executed, right? But that's not what happened. Furthermore, that drone strike was issued in a country in which we were not at war with. So stuff like that, I guess, is what the left talks about in regards to what the United States does. But I think a more nuanced look at it is that, okay, yeah, is there some things that the United States does that are questionable, right? Sure, right? We can all make arguments for that. I mean, even Trump was like, hey, the United States is not innocent when asked about whether or not Putin was a killer.
Do you respect Putin?
I do respect him.
Do you? Why?
Well, I respect a lot of people, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get along with him. He's a leader of his country. I say it's better to get along with Russia than not. And if Russia helps us in the fight against ISIS, which is a major fight, and Islamic terrorism all over the world,
right,
major fight, that's a good thing. Will I get along with him? I have no idea.
He's a killer, though. Putin's a killer.
A lot of killers. We got a lot of killers. Why, you think our country's so innocent?
So even Trump was like, there's definitely some things. But there's a difference between that and, beheading people and doing all types of atrocities to people based off their religion, based off their race, based off their sex, and other immutable characteristics. And these terrorist organizations also cause damage and destruction and destabilization in their own countries, right? Resulting in the deaths of their own citizens, okay, in ways that are very inhumane, like using innocent citizens as human shields, okay, stuff like that. And the list goes on, right? That's not what happens here in the United States. The United States doesn't do that to our own people in this country, okay? So while you can be critical of what the U.S. does internationally, I think that it is not fair and that you shouldn't be comparing us to terrorist organizations, okay? And also the problem with Ilhan Omar's comments is that these comments are just more comments in a long list of comments that Ilhan Omar has made that has made it clear to people that she really holds some kind of vitriol for the United States, right? That she really doesn't like this country that much. You know, for example, when talking about 9/11, she's talked about some things happened that day. Like, what do you mean some things happened that day? That was the worst terrorist attack on U.S. soil in history. You can't just equate that to, well, some things just happened that day, right? It makes you seem like you're sympathizing with terrorists when you make comments like that, and then you follow those comments up with later comments like this, okay? Again, there's a difference between constructive criticism and just flat out disrespect. You cannot talk about 9/11 and try to downplay what happened that day. That is just flat out disrespect, and Americans are just not going to like that, right? You will never win over anybody saying stuff like that, especially considering that she's an immigrant from Somalia, right? You can't just say stuff like that. You're putting your foot in your mouth. And don't get me wrong, I understand the later clarification that she made, what she was trying to say. She was talking about how, okay, we need to hold everybody accountable for international war crimes. We got to hold everybody accountable. That's what she said she was trying to say. But in my opinion, based off her past comments, I do legitimately believe that she thinks the United States is just as bad as Hamas or the Taliban. I think she really thinks the United States is a terrorist organization. I really do. And even the House Democrat leadership came out and said, hey, these comments are misguided. Leadership, Nancy Pelosi, issued a statement basically saying, quote, drawing false equivalencies between democracies like the U.S. and Israel and groups that engage in terrorism like Hamas and the Taliban foments prejudice and undermines progress towards a future of peace and security for all. Okay, so the Democrats are like, whoa. You got to slow down here. You can't be saying all this. Okay, you can't be talking this reckless. Okay, because I told you guys, the Democrats think that the Republicans are the only people that say things that are controversial. No, they have people in their party that say things controversial as well, right? And this is what happened. So now they got to try to cover it up. They got to try to put her in her place. But in response to this, like always, the progressives went and started to say that people who criticize Ilhan Omar are Islamophobic, right? Any attacks against her and criticisms of her is Islamophobic, okay? Pull the victim card. They had to pull the victim card, okay? Cori Bush said it was anti-black, okay? So now they're accusing those people, right, who are criticizing Ilhan Omar for her misguided comments of Islamophobia and being anti-black, right? So now everybody's on the victim train to say, woo is me. You can't criticize my opinions because I'm a part of XYZ group. Happens to everybody, okay? And because of this, it seems to be effective as Nancy Pelosi went on CNN to low-key walk back her comments. Take a look.
Woman Ilhan Omar.
Yeah.
You and other top House Democrats released a pretty rare statement rebuking her for appearing to, quote, draw false equivalencies between the United States and Israel and terrorist organizations,
That's
Hamas and Taliban. She clarified, she said that she was in no way equating them. But since all of that happened, she and others don't seem to be letting this go. Rashida Tlaib, one of her close friends, member of your caucus, tweeted the following. Freedom of speech doesn't exist for Muslim women in Congress. The benefit of the doubt doesn't exist for Muslim women in Congress.
Okay, you know,
House Democratic leadership should be ashamed.
Let me just say this.
Yeah.
We did not rebuke her. We thanked, acknowledged that she made a clarification. So before we go too far down a path.
Yeah, these aren't my words.
No, I understand that.
These are
I
your
understand
caucus
that.
members' words.
No, that's a member.
Yeah.
That's a caucus.
A caucus member.
A caucus member.
Yeah. So I just wanted to get your response to that.
No, I'm not. I'm not responding that the Congresswoman Omar is a valued member of our caucus. She asked her questions of the Secretary of State. Nobody criticized those about how people will be held accountable if we're not going to the International Court of Justice. That was a very legitimate question. Mm-hmm. That was not of concern. Members did become concerned when the tweet that was put out equated the United States with Taliban and Hamas.
Rashida Tlaib is accusing you of policing women of color.
And then she clarified it, and we thanked her for clarification.
So do you want people to just let it go?
They could say whatever they want, but what I'm saying is end of subject. She clarified, we thanked her, end of subject. What other people go out and say is up to them, but it is what happened is a reflection of the respect we have for our member and when she made her questions at the hearing, but the disagreement that we have to equate the United States of America with Hamas and the Taliban.
Guys, ain't that funny how that worked? Ain't that funny how that worked? How the squad pulled identity/victimhood politics out on the establishment Democrats. And the Democrats walked that shit back quickly. Nancy Pelosi went on TV and was like, nah, we got respect for Ilhan Omar. We just wanted more clarification. We're done with this. She has freedom of speech. Ain't it funny how it worked, guys? This is what I'm talking about when I say the pendulum always swings the other way. The same identity victimhood politics that the Democrats use against Republicans, always calling the Republicans racist, always calling them Islamophobic, always calling them homophobic, always trying to paint them as bigots. It's the same tactic that was used against them from the far left, okay? And now they're in a position where the people on the far left can say whatever. They can say whatever, and it doesn't matter how controversial it is because the far left has mastered identity victimhood politics. They mastered it. They control it. And the Democrats, the establishment Democrats, can't do anything about it because they're in bed with the progressives. They've used those same tactics that the progressives are using against them, against Republicans. So now they can't say anything. Ain't it funny how politics work? This is why you gotta be careful when you get in bed with the far left. When you get in bed with those who promote cancel culture, because you will be canceled. It will come for you. Nancy Pelosi just sat there and said this because she did not want to be canceled. She did not want to be called racist. She don't want to be called anti-black. She don't want to be called Islamophobic. So she had no choice but to go up there and to try to walk back them comments, even though she knows damn well she does not agree with what she said and that they was rebuking her at the time because they had to. That's what happened. And it's so satisfying to see this happen to the establishment Democrats because they deserve it. Because like I tell you guys, like say, yeah, does Republicans, do they have some extremists in the party that say some crazy stuff? Yeah. But the Democrats also have the same thing. And their extremists will eat that party alive. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening. And the last thing that the white liberals that control the Democratic Party want, right? Liberals like Nancy Pelosi, the last thing they want is to be called racist from the far left. That is the last thing they want. They are terrified to death of that. I'm telling you. That's why she's squirming in her dress to walk back the comments, to defend Ilhan Omar, basically comparing the United States to terrorist groups. She's defending Ilhan Omar saying that. Don't get it twisted. And also, I got a problem with Nancy Pelosi because apparently Ilhan Omar, she can make comments like this and is allowed to clarify, but yet Marjorie Taylor Greene, when she makes comments that weren't even made when she was in office in Congress, she doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. She's not allowed to clarify. She's punished and unilaterally stripped her committee assignments. And that's why I love the fact that the Republicans have introduced legislation to censure the squad. Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, AOC. I love the fact they've done that. Right now, guys, simultaneously, there's legislation in the House to censure Marjorie Taylor Greene for her comments about masks and for the squad's comments. Okay? So again, I tried to tell you, this was predictable. It was predictable, so predictable. And I think that Republicans would have been better served by just going after Ilhan Omar. Because, I mean, I'm not sure if you can get away with censoring the whole squad. But if you want to censure just Ilhan Omar, I think there could be some bipartisanship there because she's made comments like this before. These comments are not new from Ilhan Omar. And she will continue to say stuff like this. And the reason why is because Democrats are afraid of them. Because they're afraid of being called racist and Islamophobic and homophobic. So the far left can say whatever the hell they want. Because they have the power to cancel people. And this is what happens when you've made your bed with people in the far left who promote cancel culture. And quite honestly, I'm sick of victimhood politics. I really am. Every time you criticize somebody and they don't like it, they always got to cry foul based off color, religion, sexuality. Like you criticize somebody black, oh, you anti-black. You criticize a woman, oh, you're sexist. If you criticize somebody that's gay, oh, you're homophobic. If you criticize somebody that's Muslim, oh, you're Islamophobic. If you criticize somebody that's Jewish, oh, you're anti-Semitic. The list goes on. Everybody wants to be a damn victim. And this is why politics is at right now. I call it victimization politics. Don't criticize me because of my identity. You can't criticize me because I'm a part of some type of oppressed group. That's what it is. It's really ridiculous. And the Democrats have signed us up for this, and they are reaping what they sowed right now. And this is going to continue because the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, that's going to continue. That's never going to end. That's always going to be a conflict. And the Democrats will always be divided on that. And the squad will continue. And as long as the squad is there and they're as vocal as they are, and as long as the Democrats continue to stay in bed with identity politics and cancel culture, the Democrats are going to be at the whim of everything that the squad does. They really are. And they started this because they went after Trump for things that Trump says. Trump says mean things. Marjorie Taylor Greene said something. They stripped her committee assignments. Now they've opened the door for it to happen to them. They've opened the door. And it's going to happen. And trust me, it's only going to get worse. Because this is what happened. Everybody's going to try to cancel each other now. And I told you, this is what our politics is going to become if you start opening the door to punishing people just because of things that they say. There's no such thing as freedom of speech anymore. It's dead. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.